Hello, and welcome back to, say it with me, my disgusting basement. This week is a week late because I told in the prior vlog that I would be doing a vlog covering my favorite Wii U game, Xenoblade Chronicles X, once I beat it, and I anticipated on beating it that week. I neglected one thing. I really couldn't say that I beat it until I got Mia, the typical final character to unlock. Totally forgot about her. My bad. I'm sorry, Mia. You're still one of my favorites. But I'm gonna do it now because I actually beat it. First, let me just unpack kind of what the franchise is because it's really gotten muddied over the years, and you'll see why in a bit. So I won't dive into the Xenosaga, Xenogears games because those came out prior, and I know people are gonna correct me if I say it, they have nothing to do with any of the newer games, but for our intents and purposes, let's leave those out today. Jump forward to the Wii. Towards the end of the Wii's life cycle, though technically it's still alive, came this game called Xenoblade Chronicles. No one really knew about it until after it stopped production. It had a very limited run of production and then became popular. So there was a huge demand, very minimal supply. Used copies sold for, I think it was like $80 at GameStop. It was insane for a used game. It's a DVD with the Shulk. I'm really feeling it it should not be $80. Now let's jump forward all the way to the Nintendo Switch. Very current. Came Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now, despite the naming convention, it doesn't have anything to do story-wise related to the original Xenoblade Chronicles. But it's named 2. Really, it's very similar to it in the fact that it has the same battle style, it's the same general style of game, set in a fantasy setting with a few sci-fi elements mixed in. So it really is a sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii, more so than Xenoblade Chronicles X. But before we get to that, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the sequel not a sequel, had a prequel to that, not really a sequel, called Xenoblade Chronicles 2, a little tilde, the Golden Torna, the Golden Country. Wow, that's a name if I've ever heard one. And it really just expanded on the story. So now let's go back to the Wii U and what we're talking about today. Xenoblade Chronicles X, just like Xenoblade 2, really doesn't have anything to do with the original on the Wii, besides the name and battle system. This one, however, takes place in a much more sci-fi focused setting compared to fantasy, which, personal preference, let's give a couple big thumbs up there, but that's not exactly why I like it. We're gonna dive deeper. So first, the storytelling in this game is presented in a very interesting way. Now, naturally, you'll meet many different characters throughout the story, all of which you're going to love, except maybe a couple. But it really focuses around two main characters, Elma and Lynn. Lynn is a 14, I believe she's 13-year-old genius. But she reacts a lot with her emotions compared to the more sturdy and commanderly Elma. She's the real protagonist of this game. Now, just as kind of a side note, you don't play as Elma, which doesn't happen a lot in games, but when it does, I really appreciate it. It's a very unique way of presenting the story that I've really only seen in 2 other games that I can think of throughout the entire brainstorming session of writing this. And that was Last of Us and Pokemon Sun and Moon. And this. But your character, default name is Cross, is really kind of a nobody. You wake up on this planet with no knowledge of who you are, and that's where you start out. You're just like, all right, who are you? I don't know. Make yourself. You get to decide your looks, your personality even, your name, everything about it. My cat just fell over there. He's an idiot. Now, I mentioned something about crash landing on a planet. Yeah, that's kind of the main plot point of this story. So, in the distant future, we have two alien races, one of whom in particular are the antagonists of this game. And they blow up Earth. It's just gone. But there were these massive space stations that were ejected holding many, many, many people in it, millions of people in it. Not billions, though. Lots of people died. Your ship, the White Whale, crash lands on this planet Mira. And the city that you've been living in this space station, think like Wall-E, all right, is still thriving. However, there's a vital component that's missing, and that is the lifehold core. But the thing is, it's losing power over time. So there's this massive structure in the middle of town that's slowly counting down. It's got this percentage, and it ticks down more every day that goes by. And once it hits 0, everyone's dead. Everyone you know is just gonna flop to the ground and die. So it's got this really weird, like, Majora's Mask style tension to it that really ramps up around the end of the game, where that number dips into single digits, and you're just like, we gotta do something, like, right now, because we're running out of options. As far as the battles go, if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles or Xenoblade 2, you know how the battles work, more or less. There's some definite refinements over the original Wii game as far as battles go, because wow, that game was clunky. There's definite refinement there. But it's a bit too complicated to describe all on its own. However, one of the big improvements was when playing Xenoblade Chronicles, you have a set list of arts, moves. Those return in Xenoblade Chronicles X. However, the arts you use is dependent on which weapons you use. It's not always just going to be, I have the Monado, I have a sword, I'm gonna hit stuff. But where Xenoblade Chronicles, you are kind of just stuck with one weapon and dispersed among teammates. You and your teammates all use a variety of 12 different types of weapons. You can use any two that you like, one melee and one ranged. So where you can get a longsword and just whack them to pieces, or a big old jousting javelin, or two like little shooty orbity boys, like the Orbitars from Kid Icarus Uprising. What I'm saying is the amount of customizability of your character is insane. And you can really play it how you want, because you're not an important character. Now, in addition to getting to customize the way you fight on the ground, you also have another method of fighting. Big heckin' robots. It's awesome. Who doesn't love giant robots? Megas XLR, it taught me through the theme song, everyone loves giant robots. It's true, it's a fact. You get to fight in a skell. That's what they're called in this game, all right? And those are not nearly as customizable, but you can equip them with many different loadouts and are way more powerful. So when it comes to fighting a lot of enemies, if you are having a tough time on foot, just come in with your skull. That thing can just take it out, and later on you get like a super weapon given to you through one of the story missions. You blast it, and that tyrant that you fought before 100 times and died to every single time just got wasted in one hit. But due to the customizability of it, going on foot can sometimes lead to a lot better options. Now, that's not to say one is better than the other. There are times when I'm crawling through a cave and I really wish I had my skill just for those couple enemies. I just want to take them all out because they're really giving me a tough time. But then there are times where I'm fighting an enemy up in the air, and I wish I had some of my moves to really give me that advantage that I would have normally on foot. Okay, so now I'm gonna say something that I hate saying. This game is huge. Oh my word, it's massive. And this is coming from a guy who hates huge maps. When I see someone refer to a game as having a huge map, I immediately get worried. I was worried with Breath of the Wild, and honestly, it was one of its downfalls. It had this huge map with nothing in it, which added to the environment at the cost of having nothing in it. However, Xenoblade Chronicles X, this massive world is incredibly detailed, with nooks and crannies all over the place. Its vertical structures in some areas, Noctilum is just crazy, with so many different layers of things that are all crammed into one space. Or you can have the vast open wilderness of Sylvalum or Oblivia, where there's mechanical structures here and there that dot the landscape, but really you're just driving through an open plain with all these, unique environments around you. But that's the thing. There's unique environments within each of the 5 different countries that you can visit. And they're all very distinct from each other, both visually and with the enemies that you see. It may just be an enemy fortress, but you also might have a swamp, or this lake here, tall mountain, this coiled sky tree. I think that's actually what it's called, coiled sky tree. Or floating rocks up in the sky. You never thought that you would be able to reach them. You just thought it was decoration, but then you fly up there and you're like, holy cow, there's like waterfalls and like hidden caves in this floating island. It's crazy. I love it. And the best part is all those nooks and crannies kind of just dot the landscape, but really become dots when you jump in your skill. So these massive worlds that you can now traverse faster once you acquire your skill, because it's a 20-foot tall robot. So you really get 2 different versions of each of the worlds. They don't actually change, but the way you approach everything dramatically differs. Let's talk a bit about your teammates. So the US version actually had all the DLC built into it. The Japanese had to pay for it. Now, aside from the lovely staples of Elma and Lynn that you'll really get to know over the time, there are a number of other characters that you'll get to meet and explore with. One of the ones you get to meet early on is, his name is L. He's an alien, also on this planet, trying to run a merchant business, but is really trying to get down all of the local idioms. He knows them, but he always seems to mess them up. Or take Rock and Celica, about as dynamic as a duo as you can get. So you actually mistake them for a couple of enemies who are very similar visually, size-wise, as they are. However, Rock is this massive hulking teddy bear. He is about the size of your skull. And in order for you to take them into town, your Rock is requested to do some fighting alongside them, help fight off the enemy forces. But he's a huge pacifist. So the kind-hearted Celica is like, well, you know what? I can, if I fight for him, is it okay if we live here? Or how about Murderous? I mean, the name says a lot. There's not much else to say besides she likes to be rotated on the subreddit. Or Mia, the character I was talking about in the intro. Was she worth it? Man, no, probably not. Probably not. Because, wow, you got to go through hell and back through, like, I think it's 7 different missions, plus the prerequisites to do just her missions, are some of the hardest in the game, to be completely honest. It is very difficult to acquire this character. And in the end, you get her, and what does she do? Not much. Lastly, here's just a few little things that I couldn't really fit anywhere else, but I absolutely love them. 1, not every human is friendly. Now, naturally, you come in with, a few thousand other humans onto this new planet, and there are some real buttholes that come along with you. Some who just, disagree with you or have very strong opinions one way or another. Some who hate your progress and how you get special treatment and get to be on a team with Elma. There's one guy who even just forms basically a cult of racists who's just like, hey, all these aliens coming into the city, they need to die. I hate their guts. Get them out of here. So it's really cool to just see that dynamic where just because they're on your team doesn't mean that they're on your team. Playing off of that, there are also alien races. Without spoiling too much, but there are enemy alien races who will join up with you over the course of the game. Some completely, some it's, there are good people who join you. And it's just really nice to see that dynamic between the bad humans and the good aliens, the good enemies, really, how there's never a black and a white. We are not just good guys. They are not just bad guys. There is this crossover between, and you have to judge each individual person. That's a very cool element that I don't see in games or movies or TV shows. You don't see that crap every day, and I love it. Second, the follow ball is introduced once you actually acquire Tatsu as a character. And it is easily the best pathfinding tool in any game I've ever played. It's very intuitive and non-intrusive as well. Some games it's a bit too obvious where it's just like, hey, follow this blue path. And some games it just straight up doesn't work. Or in games like Skyrim, it uses your magicka. That's a pain in the butt. The follow ball is just a little orange ball. There we go. There's the ball. That goes at your speed that you launch it and just trails a path right in front of you. Third, game balance. The game balances itself really well between knowing that you can kill enemies and knowing that you should really watch your back at any given moment. There are very few places where it's just kind of safe to walk around. No matter where you're at, you should always be on the lookout for what is around you. Even if it's just an open field, there's always a looming threat around no matter what. Take the opening area, for example. You'll run out and there's basically sheep ready to die and feed your early game EXP who really don't hurt you much. Now, say you get to like level 20, those guys are no problem anymore, right? There's this massive, like 30-foot tall, giant monkey who's level 81 and can take out your entire team with one swish of his tail. One hit, you're dead. You're den. That's how dead you are. You're done and dead. You're den. What I'm saying is, the game has this really great way of balancing your strength against others. You should never feel safe at any given moment, but at the same time, you feel powerful. You can take on those sheep like no problem. But keep your eye out, keep your camera panned over to that monkey, because that music changes, it's over. And lastly, Celica is cute. I would not mind seeing more of her race in the sequel. So, in the end, this is just a great game. Can you see why I love it so much, why I'm so connected? And really, the only reason I think that it's not as big as it should be and why it has such a small following is because it was a Wii U game. All because of that terrible marketing. No one got around to playing it because no one had a Wii U. Hashtag Elma and Smash. Elma for Smash. Hashtag Elma for Smash. Hashtag bye. I was going to end these videos with something. What was I going to say? I was going to say something at the end of this video. I was going to. I had something prepared. And I forgot what it was. See you later, chowderheads.